welcome to the Aerobase tutorial. Before I even get started, I just want to touch on these platforms here. So these platforms are at the very end of this level, and they run in a power-on cycle. So what that means is that these cycles are constantly in motion, even when you're not in the stage. It starts up immediately from upon boot up of this game. So depending on how long it takes you to reach to this level will determine on where the cycles are exactly. A path opens up to the boss fight from these platforms every 7 to 8 seconds. So worst case scenario, you can lose up to 7 to 8 seconds regardless of how well you play in the stage. There is a way to manipulate these platforms into your favor, but at the starting off, I'll just go over the level generally, talking about the things to look out for, and afterwards we'll discuss on what you can do to manipulate the platforms to get a really good time and be able to make the platforms work in our favor. So let's get started. So the beginning level, just do any kind of spin dash because you want to hit the zipper, preferably a 4-tap or higher. Hit the zipper, jump to the bottom here, spin dash to the left, then a spin dash to the right. And here, you want to jump way before this this little gray beam on the floor is, because if you jump too late, you can get caught by the propellers on the floor. So I'll show an example. You'll get caught here, and this is obviously very slow compared to jumping right over it. So you want to make sure you jump relatively once it pops up on screen, essentially. So do a 6-tap and then jump. And if you jump too early, then you get caught at the end of it, and that's also not good. So it takes some finessing. And afterwards, you want to keep holding right, and this is a pretty tricky jump here. You want to jump on the moment Sonic hits the slope where the chicken is, and land on this platform here. Depending on how fast you get here, this platform is constantly going back and forth, like appearing and reappearing. So there's a chance that you can catch this platform while it's disappearing, and if that happens, then you just have to spin dash up and get up there again. There's 2 ways to navigate the next part of this level, depending on how ballsy you want to take this. So yeah, this jump is pretty tricky, as you can clearly see. You don't want to jump too early, or you just hit the chicken. If you jump too late, then the chicken hits you. So you want to get a good landing here. So a safe way to do this next part. So you want to jump on the left side, do a 1-tap spin dash, and precisely land on this yellow spring, and you take this top path here. But if you feel confident that the platform is not gonna go away by the time you get there, you can full jump and hit the yellow spring like that. In order to make this jump consistent, you want to make sure that Sonic hits the peak of his jump right under the yellow spring. Because if I hold left for too long and his peak is way past Yellow Spring, I will just completely miss it and I'll just hit these propellers, and that's a big time loss. And obviously, like, if you're too short, then you just don't reach it at all. So when you're approaching the Yellow Spring, just make sure you're just hovering right under it during the jump, and you should hit it. So once you do that, you hold left, jump up, do a 4-tap or better to get up here, and jump at the peak of that floor here. So this next part is pretty infamous in terms of difficulty for, optimizing this level. Is this Spindash Jump you're going to have to do. So what you want to do is take the top path over here. So if you jump with a precise spin dash with a slope, you can get up here, which is the path you want to take. But in a lot of cases, if no one's doing any particular setup, it's really hard to get the jump for it. You can end up losing a lot of time trying to figure out how to make this jump. So a best way to show of what you're looking for is looking at the looking at the floor here. So you see Sonic is standing on like a very flat surface here, and then it changes the angle of the floor slightly on this second one, and then there's a third one right here, and then there's a 4th one down here. This 4th one is the important one right here. This is the most steepest it can get. If you have Sonic stand on the very tip of this 4th slant and do a full spin dash jump out of the spin dash, you'll reach it every time. So what runners would do is intentionally run past it, screech, walk towards that 4th slope right here, and turn around and charge a full spin dash. And you should be able to make it up every time. It's still tricky as well, because you have to, like, set it up and position yourself. But once you get that, let the chicken let it shoot its shot, wait for it to go past you, and then just jump out of your spin dash, and you should reach up here. And afterwards, once you're here, just spin dash to the right, and jump at the end of that slope, or the bottom of it. So hopefully you can reach up here pretty quickly. So once you're here, there's 2 ways you can do the next part. They'll lead to the same spot, but one is slightly faster than the other. So the safer way to do is just immediately just do a 6-tap and just hold right the whole way. Once you are about to reach this gap here, you'll see a set of propellers here that will just hit you. And that's bad, but if you spin dash, or if you get hit while looking the other way, so if I intentionally tap left in midair, I'll get hit and I'll get sent to the right, and I'll land on this platform going up, and I can persevere onwards. And if you jump precisely when Sonic is, once I get the safe state right, it's in between these 2 red blocks here. You see that there's a gap right here, where like there's a red block here and a red block here, but no red block here. If you jump roughly here, this can help make this part consistent, where you can land up here cleanly without any kind of momentum loss. Because what could happen sometimes, if you jump at that peak of this landing here, you can get caught by the edge of the cliff here, and you lose all your momentum. Same goes if you jump too early, or you could just not make it at all. So you want to be careful of that. So if you want to jump and make sure you don't lose momentum, jump roughly where this gap is here. And you should make it up here, jump over, do another jump, and you drop down here. Then let's go back a little bit. Let's go back to this part here. So what you could do as well is do another slope jump. If you do a 4-tap spin dash and do a low jump, once the floor color changes here, you see it's red and then it's yellow over here. If you jump roughly around here, you should land exactly on this spot here. So you're on the edge of this slope, and if you do the exact same thing as before, if you do a full spin dash and then jump out of the spin dash here, you can make it. This spot also works as well. Sometimes it can be finicky, but you can also full jump, and you barely make this section here. If I try it on this one, it roughly does the exact same thing. Yeah, you'll make it over. Same deal. And then you can either jump over to the zipper coming from the left, or jump into the zipper coming from below. This both works too. If you do it fast enough, this could be slightly faster than the previous method, but they both cover the exact same things. You want to avoid the zipper because it just immediately takes you to this dead end and you have to drop down, so and try to avoid that zipper there. So once you do all that, you'll drop here, drop all the way down here, and then you want to just spin dash to the left and immediately switch and spin dash to the right. Depending how you get here, these spikes could be in your way, but these spikes are screen based, so they relatively are never in your way unless you took a lot of time to get to that point. So normally they're never in your way. So let me just show how it looks like when this part is played pretty cleanly. Drop down, do a 4-tap, and you're down here. Once you drop here, you want to do a 1 or 2 tap spin dash as quick as possible, because you're going to get to a point where the game will just put you out of a roll state anyways, and now you're in this section here where you're being taken by the wind here. You want to just hold down and mash jump, just so you break those 2 things and go inside this bottom path here, and you'll end up here. So this is where it gets pretty interesting. So you want to do a full tap spin dash, full 6-tap, and just hold right the whole way. Once Sonic lands on this first platform, keep making him go neutral. Don't jump yet. Just hold right. And once you're in this platform, you want a full jump. And you're gonna land directly under a platform. And these platforms is the exact same one as the beginning of the level. They go back and forth, like in and out. So sometimes this platform may not be here, but it's faster to get to the section at the end if you can stay up here. So what you could do is once you land this platform, just full jump and hopefully land on some other platforms. This takes a lot of finessing to figure out what position these platforms are usually, but roughly you can use the aid of the IGT to tell like where the cycles are. So those cycles, those platforms are global cycles, which means it starts in motion as soon as you boot up the level. So based on what the IGT is, once you initiate this spin dash here, right at this point right here, you can have a rough idea of where the cycles will be. So a lot of these cycles are very, I would say you can definitely tell where they are if you have a good memorization of where they, where they spawn depending on the IGT. And you end up in this section here. And once you're here, you want to just run up. Once the slope gets, once Sonic is positioned on the top right most of the slope, you want to just jump out of it. And he should just jump really far to the left because he's from like a very angled section of the slope there. And just jump over. And that is your first instance of seeing the power on cycles. In this instance, it's a very favorable spot just due to safe stating. But what would happen usually is that sometimes it could be down and you just have to wait for it. So once it comes up, just jump and go over. So that cycle usually, if you can take the top half, usually that means these next two are opened up. And you want to stand on this location here. But I'm not going to get too ahead of myself. Let me go back for a little bit, because we need to talk about when the level, when you don't make those platform cycles. So there's a section before that. So if you run through this section here, like I mentioned before, these platforms, if you don't make it and you fall down, it's perfectly fine. There's ground here. It is slower to get to the platforms, as I mentioned before, but if you do fall down here, once you reach the edge of that run through there, you want to just full jump, and then full jump again once you're in this run through, and you'll get sucked by the wind here. And then you want to switch to left and hopefully land on this yellow spring, jump up to the right platform, and spin dash to the left, and you're back here. But like I mentioned before, these are power on cycles, so the opening for these platforms could just be readily available for you as soon as you get here, or sometimes you can wait the longest time. So the optimal path for this platform cycles here is to jump on this platform, jump on this one, and jump on this one. What you want to do next is just based on preference. You could intentionally back up to the left, get some momentum, and then full jump and land on this platform and make it up here, and then you've cleared the whole section here. Or what you could do instead is once you're up here, one tap spin dash, full jump, and then slow down and try to land on that platform there. It could be tricky considering like Sonic has a tendency to slip off if he has some momentum. But if you can screech up there and jump up, you can get up here just fine. So essentially, once you get up here, just full spin dash, hold left. You hit this checkpoint, and once you're behind this pillar behind Sonic, you want full jump, and he should be sucked right into these propellers. And once Sonic is in between, is like right above the left side of that bottom wind thing, the little brown cylinder thing that's carrying Sonic up, you want to switch to right, and that should give him the momentum to get all the way to the right here. So you're basically not in this wind section for very long, because if you hold right for too long, or if you hold left for too long, you could be in this wind section for a decent bit more time. So it saves time to like optimize when to hold right to switch the other direction. So here's Silver Sonic here. Actually one of the easiest fights in the level, well, in the game, to be honest. So what you want to do here is have Sonic position on the left side of this opening here, and hold the spin dash here. You should get 2 hits. After the second hit, immediately release the spin dash and look right. He's gonna hit you, take the hit, get another 2 hits here. After the second hit, or the 4th hit rather, let go. Turn her back around, take the hit again, hold the spin dash once more. You should be able to get 3 hits before he moves to the left, and just follow him for the final hit. And that's Aerobase. Usually what you'd get if you play the level decently, is around like between a 120, 127, 128. Solely depends on the platforms at the very end. So in a very average scenario, you may get like a 124, 125, 126. Those are usually the average. We're talking about hoping the platforms are in your favor. So the problem lies is like how do you manipulate and have those platforms there for you every time. So what you would do is let's go back all the way to Sky Chase. So the big difference will lie on hard resetting the game. So when you press A, B, and start at the same time, you start back at the title screen. Once you do that, you reset the cycles. So if you reset the game and mash A the whole way through, you go to Aerobase pretty much roughly at the same frame range from the game boot up. So you can have the cycles be in a way where you know where they're positioned because you're getting into the Aerobase stage roughly around the same time after game boot up. So if you do this reset and mash the whole way through, the cycles are extremely tight to catch, which means the cycles are positioned in a way where if you play really clean, you can get a 120, which is an incredible time to get. But there's a big risk to this. If you make mistakes in this run through, the next best time you can get is a 127 and 128. You essentially take the risk of hoping to get a really good Aerobase with very little wiggle room if you do mess up, which can cost you a lot of time. So if this happens, so you can make the choice if you want to just let the game decide your fate, or you do a hard reset and just try to see if you can optimize your Aerobase. And like I said, this is power on base. So if you time your entrance into Aerobase at a different point, you can change how much leeway you have to get a pretty decent time. So if I hard reset and I wait till the game goes black, then I mash, the cycles are now in a way where a 124 or 125 is the time I'll get if I play really optimally. So I give myself 3 or 4 seconds of wiggle room. And obviously if I miss that cycle, then my best time I'll get is like a 133 or a 132. So it really varies, but it also varies even more depending on just the kind of strats you go for. So depending if you want to play in a more safer way in this level, resetting and instant mashing is probably never going to get you the 120. You have to play really clean. So you have to just kind of mess around and see what works for you. But I'll show what a 120 looks like in this context. So this is a safe state with a instant reset and mashing jump. Mashing A straight into Aerobase. So if you play all this correctly, this requires you to get the slope jump here, get the jump up to that yellow spring there. If I can get it. Get the jump, the yellow spring, instantly land, full spin dash, stop, land in position for that, which I did not do. Immediately spin dash upwards, land here. Now, you don't need to do the slope jump here, but it does make it a bit easier. But I'll show at what point is it something that you think you need, because there's a certain point in the level where, based on IGT, you'll know if you'll make it or not. But for now, let's not take it for now. But you could take it if you want to give yourself a tad more wiggle room at the cost of potentially a more difficult setup. So just spin dash over, jump, get up here, jump over here. Hopefully make that jump there. That's a requirement there. Come up here, make this jump, come down. 4 tap, quick spin dash, mash down. So when you get to this point, a good way to tell if you're going to make the cycle or not is if you're able to get the spin dash off once it hits 38 IGT. When you get the spin dash at 38 IGT, you can barely make the cycle still. And because you'll try to make the cycle at the same time every time, it also makes it easy to know where the platform cycles are. For the platform cycles that goes in and out when you're coming down here. So once you come down here, the platform should be there. Do a medium jump, land here, and then do a full jump to make it over here. So this is where it gets pretty tight. You want to jump on the very same part as I mentioned before, on the top right most part of the slope, and instantly jump to land on this platform as fast as possible. Do some quick jumps, and you barely make that platform cycle. As soon as I jumped off of it, it goes away. It's extremely tight, but this can get you 21 to 20 IGT, which is really nice. So same deal here. Switch to right, and you're here. Let's do this boss once more. Hold the spin dash. 1, 2, release. Look right, get hit. 3, 4, release. Turn left, get hit. 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's a 121. But it depends on like how fast you get back in route after the platform cycles, because that will be the difference of like the little second there. So yeah, it's a very complex stage. Like excluding the cycles alone, it's a very difficult level overall. The extra platform cycles adds a lot of complexity to it. So that's why there's a way to essentially reward yourself for playing good, opposed to having the game's power-on cycles dictate what time you get. So yeah, you can choose your poison essentially if you want to let the game decide your fate, or manipulate it and give yourself wiggle room by delaying the startup a little slower, or maybe instantly mash A to get into Aerobase as fast as possible and get a 120 potentially, or 121. That'll be up to the runner, but yeah, it's nice to have the ability to manipulate what time you get. So yeah, that is the Aerobase tutorial. Hope you've learned a lot. But yeah, thanks for watching.